welcome everyone. This is the Live Lounge. I'm your host for this evening, Caroline Crawford.
I'm Christina Althaea.
And I'm Paul Crawford.
And we are the Soul Crew. Welcome, beautiful souls. We are so thrilled that you're here with us this evening in the first Live Lounge show, coming from our lounge in Sarasota, Florida. Thank you for joining us. We're looking forward to sharing some little gems of wisdom for you, some inspirational conversations, tips and techniques to help you live an extraordinary life. We have a great show planned for you this evening. We have two topics. The first topic in the first half of the show will be about the magic of synchronicity.
Ooh.
And its spiritual connections. Then later in the show, we're going to be delving into some natural and holistic ways to help you, or indeed anyone you know, with any anxiety, frustrations, all these things that maybe you're experiencing in these uncharted times. But before we begin with the show, we're just going to share a little bit with you about who we are and what we do. So first of all, Christine's going to share a little bit about herself for you. Christine.
Hello and good evening or good day, wherever you are tuning in from. I'm Christine Althaea Abbey, and I have had a lifelong spiritual journey and have just learned so many things that I just want to share. So through my journey, I've attained the recognition as a shamanic priestess, a master herbalist, and an energy healer. And I'm the founder of the Center for Radiant Living. And I guess if I wanted to say about what I really do as far as being a teacher is, for me, life is all about balance. And whenever we run into issues and problems and troubles in life, it's usually when we're out of balance. Yeah. So if you're imbalanced in your body, it causes you stress, anger, frustration. If you're imbalanced in your mind, it causes you, in your body, it causes illness.
Yeah.
But you have imbalance in your mind, that's when you get stress and anger and frustration. And then when you have imbalance in your spirit, you're not on the right path, or you're not hearing the messages you're supposed to hear, or you're not going down the right track. Yeah. So all of these things have their ways of being out of balance. So what I do as a healer, as I teach, and as a teacher, is I have the tools and practices that help bring people back into balance. And when you're in balance, you can create a beautiful and radiant life.
Mm-hmm.
Very
yes,
true.
Very true.
Thank you, Christine. So, Paul, would you like to share with us a little bit about your background and who you are? Because I've got no idea.
Okay. Okay, so I'm Paul, and I'm a master healer, as well as a motivational and inspirational speaker, writer, and teacher. And I've been channeling also for over 30 years now, my spirit team known as Jarama, who bring about words of wisdom and understanding in a very simple but really profound way, ways that actually you can utilize and use on an everyday nature. And it also, I was running that spiritual side of me in the evenings and weekends, and sometimes when I was self-employed, I'd have a couple of days in the week, alongside working in construction, where I was dealing with the commercial and contractual aspects. So a very stressful environment. And what all the spiritual elements allowed me to do was to bring that into that stressful environment, to not only help myself, but also to help the people that I was working with. So my vision moving forward really is just to create a greater awareness and expansion for every living soul, whether it's human, animal, or mineral.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you, Paul.
And what about you, Caroline?
Yeah, so I'm Caroline. I've been a healer for over 3 decades, since the early 80s. I ran my own healing centre based in England, where I practiced. I was a Reiki master and teacher. I'm a yoga teacher. I'm also a spiritual intuitive and medium. I love teaching meditation. I also teach various forms of meditation, visualization, and helping people to unfold and really step into their own power as spiritual intuitives, because I feel everybody has that gift. And as Christine said, the more in alignment we are, the more empowered we are, the more we allow that empowerment from our soul to come into our physical lives, the more extraordinary lives we can live. So I also give inspirational talks. I'm also a writer. I've written quite a lot of blogs. And I was going to say, I am writing a book, but it's a little bit hit and miss at the moment. I'm about halfway through. I'm sure a lot of you know what that's like. But I'm married to Paul. We've been married for over 30 years.
Now. Yeah.
In fact, our anniversary is coming up next week.
Yes.
And we emigrated here to Florida directly from England 2 years ago in October. So we will be sharing a little bit more about ourselves as the shows go on, but we think just a little bit at a time so we don't overload you with too much. So the first topic we're going to kick the show off with is synchronicity. And Carl Jung described synchronicity as meaningful coincidences, which I think we can all sort of relate to that. And I feel that synchronicities have a purpose. I feel that they're a collaboration from the universe, actually from the divine, from unseen forces that are like little stream of gifts for us to help us enhance our lives, and are offered to us often at times when we're a little bit out of the normal routine that we're in. You find that synchronicities tend to happen when we've come out of our normal routine, done something a little bit different. And I feel that in that doing something different, that's when we open a door to these greater synchronicities, and they validate, I always feel, that we're on the right path in life. They're sort of guiding us forward, like doors opening, or like a, you know, like a row of green lights, one after the other. And it's a strong sign, I feel, as well, that we are in tune with our higher selves, with that higher guidance. And that's something that I feel we've all experienced at some time. So I'm going to ask Christine what she feels about synchronicity, what it means to her.
To me, I definitely agree with a lot what you were saying, Caroline. And I know that a lot of times as you're going through life, you know, we go through life and we hit speed bumps, or we set goals and we don't reach them, or we lose our way. And those are the times that synchronicities are especially helpful for me, because even if I do lose my way, there's still always that connection there. You're always connected to the divine. And if you're always open to that, sometimes when you're having those bad moments, you just need that thing, that sign that says you're on the right track, you're on the right path, just keep going. Because sometimes you can't see the end goal. And I'm sort of the end result. And I'm sort of a process person where although goals are good, I'm always open to, if I'm not enjoying the process, then maybe I picked the wrong goal. So I have to pay attention to the little signs along the way, because it's those little synchronicities when this matches up with this. And then that, to me, that's the little hand clap or the little pat on the back that says, you got this. Now you know you're on the right track. Now you know you're going the right way. How does this feel? Does this feel good? I'm on your side. Keep going.
That's when it does feel good, when you know you're on the right track.
I think that's it. And it's always those little signs, isn't it? Well, I think it's, as well as you've already said, it's going beyond what I often refer to as going beyond the ego, and allowing that stronger connection to the guidance of your soul, that inner strength. And it's that then allows these synchronicities to actually play a part in your life. But it's also, it's not, because you get I think you get little synchronicities every day on a very smaller nature. But I think it's those bigger events when something really becomes so much more meaningful, that so many things have collaborated to allow a particular outcome that is very memorable to us. And I think that's what we're going to talk about. But before I hand back to Caroline, I just wanted to say two quotes. One's from the Dalai Lama, and the Dalai Lama says, I am open to the guidance of synchronicity and do not let expectations hinder my path.
Yeah, I
Yes.
like
I
that.
like that
I
one.
love the Dalai Lama.
Yeah,
He's
I
such a
know.
sweetie.
And I think he has
isn't
a very great, concise way of saying things.
Yeah.
And Deepak Chopra, who is another favourite of mine as well.
Oh, and mine.
Yeah. He said, synchronicity is choreographed by a great pervasive intelligence that lies at the heart of nature and is manifest in each of us through intuitive knowledge.
Oh, I like that.
And I think it brings about that higher, there's a higher awareness, a higher energy at play in what we're doing in our lives.
Yeah.
And through making that inner guidance, that inner connection, we can actually, you know, tune in and allow those things to happen for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that quantum physics has also told us that for over a century now and they've proven that physical events are ultimately determined by metaphysical factors, which means the reality we're living is shaped by consciousness.
Yes.
And synchronicities are a manifestation of that fact. So again, it's coming down to that alignment with our true selves, that alignment with the divine, with those higher energies, with the universe. I know people like to give their own name to things. You know, I personally like Great Spirit or the divine. What do you like, Christina?
Divinity.
I've never asked you that. Yeah.
Divinity.
Yeah, I often talk about...
Or goddess.
Yeah, divine or Great Spirit. I often do.
Yeah.
And I think that leads back to my earlier days of connecting to spirit and Indian guides of referring to Great Spirit.
Yeah. And there are certain ways you can really kind of help yourself encourage. I wouldn't say you can make synchronicities happen because I don't believe in that, but to encourage that, to become more in alignment with your soul, to see the world as an extension of yourself. To see yourself, come from that also, that place of detachment from the outcome of things. You know, sometimes we get too, what's the word, blinkered on wanting something to be a particular way, the way we want it, in that way. And, you know, when you let go, this has proven itself to us time and time again. The outcome is actually far better than you envisioned because... think how powerful those divine universal forces are that are always encouraging us.
That ego self so wants to win. That ego self just says, that's what I want and I'm going to push as hard as it takes to get that. And if we can surrender and look for those signs, then higher self takes over.
Do you find that when you push like that, Christine, it actually slows the process down?
It doesn't feel like it in the moment. It's kind of like that go for it thing, and you get all energetic, but then you get tired. And then you go, all right, I'm kind of tired of pushing so hard. And then you get more tired. So then eventually you give up. You know, but that's the path of life, right? We get off the path for a little while and we get on the bumpy road. And then we're, this is what it's like to go smooth sailing.
So I think that we, in actually, a lot of times we miss the good stuff because we're so blinkered thinking something has to be a certain way. And for me, if you can open yourself up so that you're taking everything in, then you open yourself up to those greater opportunities.
And before we go into our personal stories, I think a big thing for me and for all of us is be at ease. Because the more at ease you are, the less tension you have, and then the less resistance you're holding. So be at ease, be relaxed, and ask the universe to help you with that as well. I know I do. There's been times, like particularly with my immigration process, that just took seemingly forever, but I'm here. We made it. So just a couple of other minute things about synchronicities, because I think we've spoke quite a bit about the deeper aspects, but synchronicities you may have also experienced as seeing numbers. You know, I woke up in the night, actually last night, and it was 4:44. You know, we often see those three numbers together. That's a sign that you're in alignment. Also, coming into contact with more like-minded people. That's another sign, another little coincidence or a sign that, yes, you're open, you're ready to connecting with more people, and definitely feeling more peace and less anxiety is a sign that you're on the right path and that you're in alignment. So
definitely.
So we're going to share with you now some personal stories of synchronicities, and each one of us has changed what we were going to say. So
it'll be a surprise.
Yes, it is going to be a surprise. So sweet Christine is going to lead the stories on synchronicities for you. So Paul and I are going to sit back and relax, and we hope you're sitting back and relaxing too and enjoying the show. So Christine.
Back in 2014 was right before my life really changed. And the first thing that happened was that I realized my life was really bumpy, and I was stressed out and working too much, and all this stress was in my life. And I said to myself, I need to get back on my spiritual path. I haven't meditated in a while. So I made a commitment to meditate, and I just said, all right, I am ready for my life to change. Be careful what you ask for.
Yeah, definitely.
I was married at the time. And when this happened, it was only a couple of months later that my husband came to me and said that he felt like he was living his life based on everyone else's expectations. And he needed some time and some space to figure life out. But before he was going to move out, we had one last trip to take together, and we were going to go up to, we had a little cabin. We had bought a little cabin in Kentucky.
Oh.
So while we were there, we were only up there for a week. And actually, while we were there, we were trying to sell it because we had had it for a couple of years, and we were a little bit financially strapped. But the beautiful thing was, while we were there, we were having a bonfire one night. And at the bonfire, right next to our little cabin on this beautiful 50 acres down in a valley in Kentucky, it was just starting to get dark, and I started to see these things moving in the night. And I was like, what? Birds don't fly at night. What is that? And it took me several minutes to figure it out that it was bats. And I had never seen bats before. I mean, you see them on TV, but I'd never seen them in real life.
Were they small ones?
I couldn't really tell. I think they were small, but it was just getting dark, and only had the bonfire. So, and you know how they fly all kind of funny. You can't kind of go really fast. So I just knew it, and I just sat there, and even though I couldn't really see them, I could feel them. And I don't know, some people are afraid of bats, and I'd never met them before, but I'm a Mother Earth girl. I love all creatures. So I enjoyed this. So that is the lead in. We enjoyed the rest of our time. We came back to Florida. My husband put his things together and started his move, which I thought was about him finding himself. Well, long story short, he had been seeing somebody else. He had no intentions of coming back home, and he was talking about not coming home, but it wasn't over yet. So we would go on an occasional date. I think he was trying to figure out if he wanted to salvage the relationship. And we went to the Harbor Walk. And those of you that are in Florida will know where this is, but it's a small town, Punta Gorda, where they have this walkway that goes all along the water's edge. And there's no beaches because it's all kind of, cliffs, not really cliffside, but drop off. But we were on the Harbor Walk, and there was a little tiki bar there. And so we sat and had a drink. So that was it was the last time I spent time with my husband. And so after we got back, and then he moved out, and I noticed things were sort of collapsing, and I kept trying to save the marriage. I kept saying, would you want to go to counseling? What did I do wrong? I'm like, what can we talk about this? I want to fix it. And he kept saying, I just want this to be easy. So one day I was just heartbroken. I was heart-wrenched, gut-wrenched, broken, sobbing for days and weeks. And I just decided, I decided to take a drive down to that Harbor Walk. And I'm going to get emotional now. I went down there, and I started to walk down the Harbor Walk, and I just felt so defeated. And in that moment, I didn't know what else to ask for. And I just said, I know you've got my highest good. in mind, and I need to stop fighting for what I think is right. So all I ask is that you show me ease and grace, and know that I surrender. I surrender this to you because I don't know where else to go. I don't know what else to do. My marriage has meant everything to me. I was married for 14, 15 years.
Yeah.
We were together for 20.
Yeah.
And just as I was doing that, and I walked around the corner and stopped at this corner of the Harbor Walk where the bridge crosses across the water.
Yeah.
And bats started flying out from underneath. And I didn't know at the time, but I went home and looked it up, that bats, the animal totem stands for transformation and life change and all of this. And I just, you know, there were people around. I didn't break down in sobs, but little tears came down my face. And in that moment, I truly just felt like no matter what happened, I had already grieved for weeks. If I was going to grieve more, it didn't matter. It didn't matter if my marriage was going to make it. All that mattered in that moment that I knew I was supported, and I knew I would be okay, and I knew that I was at the cusp of something that was going to change my life for the better. So bats are very special to me. That's my synchronicity.
And your life did change.
It changed dramatically.
Because
here we are.
And they're that little sign, aren't they, that hang on in there. This transformation's coming, and we all know transformation's hard. It's almost like the butterfly that transforms out, isn't it? And it's uncomfortable, but we have to trust sometimes, don't we? Oh, bless you.
And for those who don't know, the marriage didn't make it, but my life is incredibly beautiful and amazing right now. So the universe, God, divinity really did know. My highest good.
And animals showing you the sign.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Being the animal. So that's my story.
That's beautiful story. So Paul now has a little story to tell you on his synchronicity.
Okay, so my synchronicity story begins when it was the last part of my mum's journey in this physical world. She'd been ill for quite a while, and I lived about a 2-hour drive away from her. So I would take the day off work and I would go down there and I'd spend the day with her. And I would just she'd ask me to do little jobs around the house and, you know, a few little bits and pieces that my other brothers weren't able to do, or just, I think sometimes she used to make up things just so that I could do things for her.
Yeah.
And when I got there earlier in the day, she said to me, she said, "Oh, and I need you to go to the store. It's a bit like Home Depot to get a few bits and pieces." So I said, "Yeah, that's fine. I can go there." She said, "They shut at, or they close at like 6 o'clock or something like that." So, but I kept finding all these things. I don't know why. I was doing all these other jobs and I kept finding all these other things. I just felt I had to do them. And my mum was saying, "Paul, you know, they're gonna. I don't want you to miss it. I need those things." And I said, "Yeah, mum, I'm going.
She was known, bless her heart, for her impatience.
She could be a bit impatient,
yeah.
And I think the illness sort of exaggerated it as well.
It did.
But anyway, eventually I thought, "Oh, crikey, look at the time. I better go." I didn't have that long to get there, get the stuff and get out before they closed. And en route, I had to go across this bridge that crosses over a highway below. It's 3 lanes each direction, lots of high-speed traffic. But as I approached the bridge, in that split moment, I saw there was a girl walking up on the pavement. And she made a funny move towards the railings of the bridge. And as I was going past, obviously I'm in a car going a certain speed, but something just inside of me just said something wasn't right. You know, it didn't feel right. And I felt compelled. I had to, once I got over the bridge, I had to turn around and go back. Yeah. And by the time I'd actually parked the car up and got out, she was the other side of the railings on this bridge, and she'd moved out across the highway. And I've never experienced that sort of situation where, you know, someone's
actual suicide.
She was obviously contemplating it, and so I just went up close towards her, but as I was getting towards her, not too close, so that, you know, I scared her in any way, and I just talked in a really gentle voice, asked her what her name was, but she wasn't talking to me. She was just staring down at all the fast moving traffic underneath.
Oh gosh.
And I just sent up a prayer, and I just said, please, I called on my spirit team, Jarama and everybody, and I said, please just bring about, just help me with this situation in whichever is the best way possible. And almost instantly, the traffic's underneath slowed down to almost a virtual standstill. This great big truck pulled up and stopped, and this man jumped out, and he came running up the bank and onto the bridge. And I said to him, so look, move your truck underneath where she was. So he maneuvered it out underneath her.
Yeah.
So we were like halving the distance if she did actually jump.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then straight away, an off-duty policeman.
Yeah.
He was there as well. He came running up the bank. And then in the time he got out of his car running up the bank, he had actually phoned all the necessary services.
Oh, wow.
So he said, look, they're on their way. And he started talking to the girl.
Yeah.
And then he was like inching his way there towards him. And then all of a sudden he just made a lunge. He got hold of her and he pulled her over to the safe side. And she was, at that time, she'd gone from being this complete static, just staring. She started to struggle a bit, but then she calmed down a little. And then the ambulance and the other services, they all arrived and everything. And I spoke to the officer, and he said, because she was only 16.
16.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And
yeah, it was a bit emotional. I remember when you called me.
It was emotional. And it was, and I said to him, look, you know, what will happen with her now? And he said that she will get all the help and assistance that she needs. Yeah. You know, and I thought that, I mean, it was such a big cry, you know, for obviously to be in that state of mind to do that. And then it was almost like the next thing, then I was just back into my normal life. I was driving to the store before they closed. Yeah. But I just said a great thanks to Spirit, to God, to everyone, to actually create those sequences of events.
Right. Delaying you at your mother's house.
Exactly. And the other part as well, when I got home to my mum's, she said, oh, I was getting really worried. You've been gone for so long. And I said, I told her the story, and she said, Spirit wanted you to be delayed and to go when you did. And if I hadn't have gone past it at that exact moment in time, I wouldn't have picked up that strange movement. And that's all I can say.
I think she was about to jump from what you told me before at that point. So
it was kind of
the fact that you were compelled to go back, the truck driver, the policeman, and she got all the help she needed.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's my synchronicities, but it all ended well. And, you know, it was a very emotional. But, and what about you, Caroline? What was your?
Right. Well, mine hopefully is it is some laughter. There were some emergency services involved as well. So it was at a time of our lives when Paul and I had tried to have another child. We have one son and 3 beautiful grandchildren, and I'd had an ectopic and several miscarriages, and then I had a stillborn. And about a year after that, I thought, you know, I think we've got to accept that, you know, this is it now. So I gave it another year or so, and I reignited my passion with horses. You know, growing up, my childhood, I was with horses more than I was people. You know, I loved them. I communicated with them. I had great relationships with them. So anyway, I bought this horse. She was 16-1. And for those of you that don't know about horses, she was a big horse. Yeah. And she was thoroughbred cross. And she'd been used to just show jumping, which means, you know, I'll give the analogy. It was almost like a child being in a classroom all day and then being let out in the playground. So I used to ride out with her. We call it hacking out. I'm not sure what you call it here, through the fields and around the forest. And I wanted to really build my relationship with her, really build this bond. So this day I'd been out, it was a beautiful day. And I always used to wear a really high-vis jacket as well, which was bright yellow. And I'd been through the forest and I was coming back and there was a field just before I got to the road with a big 5-bar gate. And it was a lovely stretch up. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to let her go. So I let her go. We had quite a fast canter and we stopped dead at the gate. And as we stopped at the gate, wasn't such a good synchronicity. This pheasant shot out, startled her. With that, she leapt. And all I remember, the last thing I remember, because I was unconscious, was trying to pull her back and say, no. She went over the gate. I laugh now, it wasn't funny at all. I must have come off in seated position because I landed, all my eye was cut open because there was all big stones and gravel for the machinery to get in and out the fields. And my knees, I landed on my knees were killing me. Anyway, I came to, and there was a man there, and he was another off-duty policeman. Honestly, I'm not making it up. And he said, are you okay? You okay? And for a while, I don't know how long actually I'd been out for, but I said, look, you know, I've got my phone. He said, can I call anyone? And as I turned, Tetley's, that's my horse, her back legs were trapped in the top of the gate between the first rung of the gate and the bottom. And she was on her side.
Goodness.
And then, so this policeman phones Paul. I'll let just Paul tell you briefly this bit.
Well, briefly, got a phone call, came up as Caroline. So I said, hi, darling. And he said, I said, oh, it's not Caroline. I'm an off-duty policeman. And I thought it was a friend or someone from the yard messing around. I just said, yeah, of course you are. You know?
To this policeman. So anyway, told Paul he was taking me to the general hospital. The ambulance was on its way. Everything was okay. I was all right. And then there were two, can you believe it, veterinary nurses that went past, and they were there as well. And I said, look, get me up. I need to get to my horse, because anyone that's ever suffered with painful knees knows you can't get that leverage to get yourself up. And I was saying, no, lay still, lay still. You might have hurt your spine. I said, look, I was really insistent. I said, I haven't hurt my spine. Just get me up. I need to get to my horse. Get me up. So then this policeman, I think his gut instinct kicked in, and he said, no, just help her up. So they helped me up, and I went and just reassured my horse. You're not going to believe this. Then these men that had been working across the field came across with tools to safely cut and release her back legs from the gate. Wow. So they released her from the gate. And a farmer that had been working in his tractor right across the far field, I mean, this must have been a funny sight, saw a bright yellow jacket, which was me, flying through the air before I landed face down. So he came over. Luckily, he knew the girls where I kept Tetley on the yard, about, what, a mile and a half away. So the ambulance came. I said, I'm not going until they're here. I wouldn't leave my horse. I said, no. Unbeknown to me, I was absolutely covered in blood because I'd got quite a deep gash. I've still got a scar, luckily, over my brow. And I had to have internal stitches. I cracked my ribs, my face was swollen, my hands. Anyway,
goodness.
The ambulance came and I wouldn't get in until the girls from the yard came. So anyway, they came, off I went to hospital. Long story short, the doctor said to Paul, take her straight home. She's had a head injury. Paul knows me. I said, I'm not going home. I need to go and check my horse. There's no way I'm going home till I know Tetley's okay. So we went at the yard, which was about a 7 or 8 mile drive. And as soon as she saw me, she'd give out this great big whinny. She was so relieved because she must have wondered where I was, you know, gone off in this flashing light ambulance. And so, I felt it really, that I've always felt protected. I've always felt I've got these guides, angels, whatever you want to call them, looking over me and protecting me and guiding me, because I have got myself in some situations. But Paul said think that
I think
all the people that turned up.
but it's a really quiet country road between two small villages. So you hardly get any traffic there. In those fields either side, you'd hardly get anybody there at all.
No.
I mean, we've been.
You
through
had everyone you needed right
yeah,
there.
straight in that moment.
Police, nurses,
In that moment,
Veterinary nurses, farmer, men with the tools.
Jeez, that's
So
pretty good synchronicity right there.
keep in
like-
alignment.
Yeah.
So that's coming to the end of our little section on synchronicity. We're coming midway now to the show. And before we introduce the second part, which is we're going to be delving into giving you some tips and techniques on managing anxiety, frustration and things in these uncharted times. Now, you are going to now have more interaction with the show, because you can send questions in while we're talking or towards the end of what we're going to present to you in the chat box on your screen, which I would have no idea about. So Paul is just going to talk you through how to send your questions in through the chat box so we can answer some of your questions.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why we're saying this is because we've had a few people saying, well, how do we do that? And basically, either at the bottom of your screen or at the top edge of the screen, there's a little sort of a bubble and it says chat. Click on that and the chat box appears, and there'll be a little box in there that says type message here. So type it in, press enter or return, and then it shows up on screen.
Yeah. If you even got any comments you want to send in now just to practice, that's fine. And it might just be a nice idea to say where you're watching the show from. So for instance, excuse me, if Jean is going to send a question in, say Jeannie from Nokomis or Venice, you know, that'd just be nice so we can just share. So Paul's just going to change the screen a little bit for us as well.
Yeah.
And so dealing with anxiety, managing anxiety, Paul is actually going to start off with his little presentation on managing and dealing with anxiety.
Well, for
Hi,
me,
everybody.
yeah.
I can see you now.
So for me, anxiety is all about finding what's causing you that anxiety. And it's not necessarily the last little thing that tips you over the edge. It's finding the real cause and then either reducing or removing that from your life or from where your focus is. Because that thing, I think, particularly in these current times or these current latest months, there's been a lot of things like with the media and everything else that's caused a lot of anxiety within people. And I think a lot of that is because so many people have been watching this information and taking it all on board and having no release for it. So it's finding what that is for you, what's causing that anxiety within you, and then deciding to actually take steps and take action to changing something. And that change, it may well be that you stop watching those programs, if it's a program, or if it's a particular individual, you actually have less to do with them, or you try and change how you feel towards them and what's going on there. So you're actually changing the dynamics, you're changing the energy within yourself, and then replace it with something else, either with a new, more positive thought, finding something new to do or something you already do and do more of it, like reading a good book, listening to some great music or uplifting or relaxing music, going for a walk in nature, just getting outside, exercising, go baking something, you know, cook something. It's things that you can lose yourself in, because in taking your focus onto something else, you're removing the energy away from that which is causing you that anxiety. And you can almost finding something that you can lose yourself in. Sometimes maybe
very much
doing
about choices as well, isn't it?
It is, but and that's the thing, it's your choice. You choose what you focus on, you choose where you put your attention to, and that's the key thing. You know, and it's your intention, your focus, that then creates your future.
You create your reality.
Well, it is. And you can't change what's happened yesterday.
No.
You can't change what's going to happen tomorrow because it hasn't happened.
No.
But you can make a change in this present moment. And that change then whatever you do creates your tomorrow.
Yeah.
Creates your now, and it creates your tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if you choose to continue to think in the same old way that's creating that anxiety, then well, guess what? You're going to be still continue to be anxious.
Yeah.
But if you can make that change, and decide, no, I'm gonna do something different, and I'm going to listen to a bit of music or something. And also Christine and Caroline will talk through some other things that you can do to assist with that.
Yeah.
But it's just making that change. So in recap, really, identify the source, remove or reduce it as much as possible.
Yeah.
Make a decision to make a change, and then do something. But if you're struggling, then maybe confide in a friend and see if they can try and get them to encourage you to make a change that you want to give you the strength initially, so that you can then make that change. And then focusing more on something more uplifting, more joyous, and bring that energy into your reality. But also one last thing, just be aware of what you watch first thing in the morning and last thing at night. When we were, well, decades and decades ago, we used to always watch the news first thing in the morning, last thing at night, or would read the newspaper first thing in the morning. But we stopped doing it because it was so negative. And in the evening, you're taking that into your sleep time. And that energy sort of builds upon it and creates that same energy. When you wake up, you're still anxious. And then if you go straight back into in the morning, reading something of that same nature,
and most
then
of it's speculation, isn't it, as well? Most of it's speculation. It's just fear-based driven to make you feel anxiety. We need to acknowledge that, I think, particularly in society how it is now.
And I think it's realizing that a lot of times these things are said or done because they have a particular agenda.
Yes.
You know, whether if it's a newspaper, they want to sell more print or more online clicks.
And for some reason, negativity sells.
It does.
So
I know.
we have to claim our good nature and claim our good outlook.
Thank you, Paul. That's really some good tips there, and helping people to just step back a bit from what is causing that anxiety as much as you can. So now we're going to move on to Christine, who's that master herbalist, and she's got some great tips and techniques for you. Christine.
I do. There are a lot of websites, blog articles, probably even YouTube channels about all different things that you can do herb-wise for anxiety. And a lot of them are going to tell you a lot of the same things, and a lot of those things probably work. So chamomile tea is something you can drink, and lavender essential oil is something you can put on your pillow at night to help you relax and sleep. However, I just want to share something new and different to you and educate you a little bit about probably like a category of herbs that you might not have heard of, or you might not be extremely aware of, so that you can, if you choose to, can do additional research on this and find out more. But one category of herbs that I've fallen in love with and use a lot in my daily life are called adaptogens. And adaptogens are these groups of herbs that they're beautiful in that they don't necessarily, like if you take something that has caffeine in it, it's always going to take you on the upswing, right? It's always going to give you energy because it's a stimulant. And then you can take other herbs that have a depressing sort of feeling to help calm you. But the wonderful thing about adaptogens is they actually support both directions. So they somehow magically, if you want to know the science, then you can probably look it up and get more details. I know a little bit about it, but I won't get into that right now. But to be able to take something that can help balance you, and actually, you know, we talked about early when I gave my introduction, and that's why adaptogens are sort of a favorite of mine, because I'm the girl of balance. So I like talking about balance and bringing everything back into balance. So adaptogens are one way to do that. I had my book, and it's not here, and I'm not going to get it, but just know that all the notes about our show notes and all that we're talking about today is going to be posted on our website. So I'm going to give you the name of the book. It's called Adaptogens, and there's 2 authors, and the name of that book is posted over in the notes section on our website so you can look it up. So if you're interested in more information about adaptogens, please feel free to check that book out. So the adaptogens will help you in either direction. And what they do is they protect your energetic resources. So they protect you to maintain the energy that you have, help give you the energy that you need, but also help you kind of balance that energy when it gets too crazy and over the top. So one of my favorites, I'm going to talk about specific ones today so you have a place to start. So one of my favorites that I take every day is called ashwagandha. And ashwagandha. And it is an herb that it helps with anxiety, it helps with fatigue, it helps with brain fog, insomnia, and nervous exhaustion. So I've also noticed, I take this herb twice a day. I just take a half a teaspoon, I put it in a little bit of water, I swish it around, and I just drink it. And it's not necessarily horrible tasting, it's not necessarily yummy, but you know, you could probably get in capsule form if you didn't want to do it that way. I just like to buy my herbs bulk because then I can use them for different uses. So that's how I like to take that. The nice thing is I take a half teaspoon in the morning, and I can tell you that this going both ways really works because I take it in the morning and it gives me energy. But I also take a half a teaspoon before bed and it does not affect my sleep. If it does anything, it helps it. Yeah, so I take it then and I'm dropping right off to sleep with no problem. Brilliant. So knowing that I'm putting that on my body, because what it is, it's like a tonic. So it's a tonic for your body. So it's balancing your energy, it's helping with stress, and it's balancing your systems, especially in the energy realm. Ashwagandha. Yeah. All right. So that's one herb I want to talk to you about. And then I have two others that I also like to use, maybe not every single day, but I use them frequently. And one of them is called Brahmi. And this is a well-known herb in the Ayurvedic tradition. So if you follow Ayurveda or you're into the, you know, the system from the healing system from India. That's what that is. So any of you yoga people out there who might want to go beyond the scope of yoga and do more in that realm, that you might know about this particular herb. Now the Brahmi is, the great thing about Brahmi is it supports hormone regulation and balance. So in that case, it can really help with cortisol. Now here's the tricky thing. Because of FDA regulations and all this wonderful thing, as a master herbalist, even though I'm very well trained in what I know and what I do, I'm not allowed to diagnose and treat disease because I'm not a doctor. So technically, I'm not allowed to tell you, even though there's scientific studies that prove to you what certain herbs cause what chemical reactions in your body, I'm technically not allowed to talk about them. But what I am allowed to do is tell you what conditions I have and what I use them for, because all that is sharing my experience. So I am going to tell you that I have had some stress issues from long-term stress and, you know, issues with cortisol. So the Brahmi helps with that. And it also, the other benefit of it is helping with the brain function. I know if there's any ladies out there that are getting up there in your 50s, we have that life change that happens, and I'm just starting to get into that. We're having a hot flash right now as we speak, but it also, I have a little bit of brain fog and a little bit of brain like memory stuff going on, and I've started a formula which I can tell you about maybe on another time, but the Brahmi is one of the reasons that I also take that. And along with the Brahmi, I also like to take holy basil. Holy basil is also known as Tulsi, and this is an herb that helps balance your chakras. So this is another one from the Ayurvedic tradition. This was not intentional. It just happens to be some of my favorite herbs. So if you understand chakras, just know that holy basil is an actual herb that can help with the chakra balancing, but it also supports your blood circulation. It helps anxiety, and it also helps with mental balance, because guess what? Just like ashwagandha, holy basil is an adaptogen. So you can take herbs in a lot of different ways. You can take them as capsules, you can take them as tinctures, but I'm going to tell you, for stress, my favorite way to take these herbs, especially the Brahmi and the holy basil, and I like to combine them, is that I put them together and I make a tea, because the whole process and the whole ritual of tea making to me is very relaxing.
Lovely.
So I make some tea, I mix the two together, 1 teaspoon of the combined herbs to a cup, or a rounded tablespoon to a quart of boiling water. Let it steep 5 to 10 minutes, and gently sip and breathe and enjoy your anti-anxiety tea.
With
Lovely.
all that information
And
will be
more
on the website.
Yeah, and more.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I hope that's really helped some of you. We're going to look into some of those.
Yeah.
But at
And
the
so-
moment, we don't need it.
No. So what are you going to do?
I'm going to be talking briefly, because time's ticking on, about breathing exercises. Now, you find people that suffer with anxiety tend to breathe just to the throat, and even just take a breath to your throat now, and just doing that makes me feel anxious. So let's just take a moment all together, all you beautiful souls sitting there with us. Let's just take from the Live Lounge a nice long deep breath. Okay. Lovely. So I'm going to talk you through the breathing exercise in greater depth in a moment, but I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the benefits. So deep breathing, rhythmic breathing, reduces stress and really increases a sense of calm. It cleans the lymphatic system, the blood system, to help it become more pure. Now, if you're purifying and cleansing the blood, you're going to find that little infections and bacteria and diseases, all these silly things that go about, will not be able to cling to your blood so easily, and they'll get flushed out of your system. So breathing is such an important thing to do. And it's free.
Yeah.
All we have to do is remember to breathe. It
Absolutely.
also lowers the blood pressure, which is another good thing as well. So I'm going to talk you through a little exercise. So I'd like you to put one hand on your heart area or your chest, and the other hand on your lower abdomen, as low down as you can. If you want to, feel free. Please close your eyes. Feel you're making an inner connection. Remember that soul, that divinity, that loving energy resides within you. So as you next breathe in stages, feel your upper body gently expand, then your middle body, and then the lower abdomen, pushing gently into your hands. Feel that relax as you breathe out. Let's do that once more. As you breathe in, feel the chest expand, the rib cage, the lower abdomen. Hold for a second or two and slowly breathe out. Okay, so then we're going to add to that a little positive mantra or affirmation. So as you next breathe in, say to yourself, as I slow my breathing down, hold the breath, I feel calm and relaxed. So as you breathe in, say to yourself, as I slow my breathing down, hold the breath, I feel calm and relaxed. Just do that once more. Notice how you're feeling. Beautiful. We're just going to do one more. So as you next breathe in, say to yourself, as I slow my breathing down, hold the breath, I feel peaceful and still. And again, as I slow my breathing down, I feel peaceful and still. Once more. So just be aware of how you're feeling. You can keep your eyes closed if you like for a moment. And a good thing with breathing is to try and find small increments throughout your day to apply in your daily routine. I always used to do it, because I taught yoga for over 20 years. And when I got into yoga breathing practices, I used to lay in bed at night and practice them. And Paul used to say, what on earth are you doing? I'd say, I'm just seeing how deep I could breathe. But find those increments. A really good time when you get into bed. Have I made you tired, Jeannie? Are you all ready for nonites?
Well, I'll tell you what, I feel, and it centers you.
Good. So find those when you're going off to sleep. The first thing when you wake in the mornings, you know, set a positive intention. Today's a brand new day. I'm going to have a good day. I'm going to look at things to make me smile and feel happy as you breathe. Post reminders to breathe slowly, you know, on the mirror in your bathroom, maybe by your coffee maker, in your car. Just don't close your eyes in the car. But little things that you can remind yourself to slow your breathing down. Okay. One more thing before we go. We're just going to talk a little bit about affirmations. Now, affirmations actually change those and reprogram your subconscious thoughts that can be doubtful, that can be anxious. And using positive phrases, it's MRI scans have actually proven and suggest that certain neural pathways are increased when people practice regular self-affirmations. So I always say, use your affirmation in the present tense, not I'm going to or I will. I am. So a simple one would be something like, I am calm and relaxed. I am centered and connecting to my true self. And a favorite I have that came to me in a meditation a few months ago was, I deeply and profoundly believe in myself, in all that I am and all that I do. I deeply and profoundly believe in myself, in all that I am and all that I do. And thinking that, particularly before I'm about to do, you know, a mediumship audience or a channeling talk, a light transmission, if I just take myself into a quiet space and do that, it just connects me. I feel centered and relaxed. So use those affirmations, use your deep breathing as often as you can throughout the day, and in the present moment, I am. So I hope that's helped you. We're just going to talk. I think
if we have just time for
one or two questions.
Well, one comment. Somebody says, what do you do if your anxiety is causing anxiety? Well, deep breathing, and have some nice calming tea. Okay.
Yeah.
That's two things.
Yeah.
And
but on a serious note, you know, perhaps do some yoga, slow your breathing down, distract yourself, read a book, look for some beauty, look for something you can appreciate in your life. There's always something.
And then they made a statement that, and this is Jeannie, fear is about the past, worry is about the future. So true.
Yeah.
And I have a little a quote here from the Dalai Lama that says, if a problem is fixable, if a situation is such that you can do something about it, then there's no need to worry. If it's not fixable, then there is no help in worrying. There is no benefit in worrying whatsoever.
No. So
wise.
We're coming to the end of the show. I can't believe it. We still had a little bit more to share with you, but thank you so much for joining us in the live lounge. We really appreciate you chose to spend your valuable time with us. We hope you found maybe a tool or a process or discovered a little insight to help you live your life in a more positive way. In the next show on October the 7th, we're going to be talking about finding and following your purpose and give you ways to live and create more balance so you can live with more purpose.
And just to let you know that the Live Lounge show is always free, but if you are so inclined and would like to send a donation then to help support our channel and the work that we're trying to do, then you can find the donate button on our website, which is SoulCrew.biz even.
What is
I'll
it,
get it right one day.
What is it?
SoulCrew.biz.
Yeah.
And we're here, the Soul Crew are here twice a month, the first and third Wednesday of every month. So put that in your calendar.
Yeah.
Yes. And just know that we are going to keep track of all of these. For those of you that we didn't see your comments or your questions, we will go back and make sure that we read every one.
We will.
So just know that everything that's in there will get seen. So thank you so much for interacting with us.
Yes.
Make sure that you've signed up to receive the reminders, and we look forward to seeing you again. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions after the show in between, if you have any ideas for different topics that we can talk about, we'd really like you to be a part of the live lounge show and contribute that. So make sure you contact us once again at our website, SoulCrew.biz.
So from the Soul Crew, we wish you a beautiful day or evening, wherever you are, sending you from my heart and our hearts, wherever you are, lots of love. See you next time.
Bye.
Take care. And from the Soul Crew,
Bye for now.
And as it's party time. Hey, good show. Done.
Right.
Thank you, guys. Love you.
Lots of love. Look after
Lots
yourself.
of love.